My son and daughter-in-law have been married for around 7 years. They have 2 kids. All of my children are out of the home and living their lives. My husband and I are still working and will probably retire in 10 to 15 years, around 70. My daughter-in-law and I got along much better before the kids came into the picture. They live 30 minutes away and she always tries to drop them off. I thought my son was in on this, but no. I sat them down and he had no idea this was happening. I showed him the many texts asking me to babysit and he was under the impression that I only babysat twice this month, not 16 times. Apparently she's been dropping them off with me to hang out with people and my son was under the impression she was taking them with her. I started communicating in a group chat with them so everyone was on the same page. I only respond to her in the group chat, and if she starts spamming me with texts about it, I throw a screenshot in the group chat and have my son deal with it. We've talked and it comes down to her wanting her kids to have the same relationship she had with her grandparents. In short, I explained that I was still working and I would not have that relationship. I can't have the kids every other day just like she had growing up. We agreed to have a grandma's day every 2 weeks. All good for about a year. My son is now travelling for work and she's at it again. The time difference makes it hard to have him shut it down when it happens. I was home for about an hour when she showed up at my home. She wanted me to babysit when she went shopping. I had enough at this point. I told her, for heaven's sake, I have my own life and that I will not be the cookie-cutter grandma she wants. And if she tries to leave the kids with me from now on without my agreement, I will call the police estate abandonment. She called me a jerk and stormed off. My son called, trying to smooth it over and saying I may have gone too far. Am I the idiot for telling my daughter-in-law I have a life and I'll call the police? Edit, when she kept dropping them off, the kids were infants and toddlers. It really hit off when she was pregnant and got even worse when the second one was born. Not the idiot. It's nice that she had that kind of relationship with her grandparents, but absolutely nothing entitles her to force it on you. Good job on the boundaries. Your son needs to step up here too, though, and get more involved with his own kids. The group text idea was brilliant and is a great way to keep him in the loop. I swear this is such a boomer mentality. Like, my parents got so much support with us kids, we spent weeks at my grandparents'. Other family members voluntarily babysat regularly. Then I have kids, and any time I've asked for help, it's a big complaint. I'm talking about like 2 times a year. Everybody sucks. You'd call the cops for your grandkids showing up at the house. Wow, your grandkids should be the biggest priority. Don't worry, she sucks too for all the reasons you mention. Daughter-in-law is the one that escalated the situation. When you get to the point that you must threaten somebody with the police, they need to ask themselves what's wrong with their behaviour, not the other way around. That's absurd to make you feel like you went too far. If anything, she's offended because there's truth to the fact that she's abandoning her kids. Get a Ring doorbell and don't answer the door. Use it to greet her and the kids, then tell them you aren't available and that you'll see them on the next pre-planned day together. Your daughter-in-law is obviously struggling with being a mother. I hope she gets some mental health support. She needs it. My sister and her family lost their family home in a house fire 3 weeks ago. It happened in the middle of the night and they initially stayed with our parents on night 1. But our parents have a 1-bedroomed house and space was not optimal, so they asked if they could stay with my wife and me and our kids. We said no. We said no for mostly one reason, but kind of 2. For about 2.5 to 3 years now, my sister has been so tough on my wife regarding how she and we feed our kids. She focuses on my wife far more than me, but it does come back on me too. We don't keep sugar or junk food from our kids. We don't deprive them of that. We keep things balanced. We make veggie pancakes, we make healthier pizzas. We allow snacks like chocolate, ice cream or cake. We offer our kids sauces, and not all of them are homemade, but some are. My sister is so judgmental about that. She didn't let any of her kids have any kind of junk snack until they reached school, and they could only eat something like chocolate at birthday parties. They limit the number of those they can attend in close proximity so they don't get 2 days of junk food in a week or more than 3 days of junk food a month. My sister or her husband will also stay at parties, even ones the tween is invited to make sure they go for the salad over the pizza if they have the chips and candies. My sister acts like our kids eating a chocolate treat or a few chips is the end of the world. She was especially horrified to find out we gave our kids fries with tacos one night and that another night we gave chicken bites with potato cakes and not plain chicken once the potato cakes were involved. Veggies were included both times, but the idea of 2 less clean foods horrifies her. My sister-in-law, my wife's sister, is a pediatric dietitian and she loves how we feed our kids. She told my sister that once, and my sister was horrified by my sister-in-law's profession. This has all become such a problem that it's become my sister disrespecting my wife, so we see her far less. I don't like that. We used to be close, but I won't allow her to crap all over my wife over a difference in how we see things. Oh, and she also doesn't like that our kids get bread with soup. So when my sister asked if they could stay with us, I said no. She told me they really wanted to stay with family instead of at some hotel or strange rental, and I told her they would all be happier there when she was so bothered by the food my wife and I fed our kids. But I also wasn't going to let her stay and disrespect my wife in our home. My sister has been furious with me since then. She told me I took things way too far. I told her she's been going way too far for almost 3 years now. Am I the idiot? Oh my God, you give your kids bread with soup? Call CPS. Absolutely not the idiot. Your lives would be miserable if your sister moved in. Good for you for standing up for your wife and kids. She would give your kids all eating disorders if she lived with you. Your sister is a control freak, and it's far better that she stays in an environment where she can do her control freak thing. Your home is not the place for that. I can just imagine how she would start dictating what you're feeding your kids because she doesn't want her kids to have to watch your kids get goodies. Then she would move to eat in different locations at different times of the day so that her kids wouldn't see or smell it or whatever. At that point, she might as well be living in a different environment anyway, right? Her maybe sort of weird food choices have nothing to do with it. You cannot house a family indefinitely. Their insurance should be covering this. If she and your mom and dad all want her and her family to be homeless, then that does suck, but you aren't a free house. I believe in the saying, you made your bed and now you can sleep in it. Your sister must now accept the unpleasant results of what she's done over the past few years. This may teach her going forward to keep her opinions to herself and be kinder to people. My mother-in-law is getting up there in age. She's not old, 66, but her health isn't the best. She's recently asked us to move in with her because she can no longer work, has zero retirement funds, and can't get around like she used to. She needs help, and we're the only ones to help her. She has until the end of the month to pay off $12,000 in back taxes before her home goes to foreclosure. My mother-in-law by herself is a kick-butt woman. I love her to bits. But she's a people pleaser to the extreme, and it's absolutely made her fall into situations that I will never be okay with putting myself in. Her boyfriend is 66-year-old Mason, a felon due to his continuous intoxicated driving charges. He just got out of prison last year after 6 years on the inside, and he's already right back into drinking all day, every day. He got intoxicated one night back 8 months ago. He decided to go and adopt a 5-year-old Rottweiler Mastiff mix and then failed to attempt to train the animal. It's now food aggressive, kennel aggressive, toy aggressive, and resource guards everything. He is aggressive and protective of my mother-in-law, so the dog would have to go. Under no circumstances will I make an exception on this. My children are small, one is crawling, and that animal will not get the opportunity to maul my children. The dog stays, we do not move in, period. Mason also has an old-school parenting style and, on more than one occasion, has tried to father my children in angry, outdated ways. Hence, I said neither he nor my mother-in-law would reprimand or discipline any of my children in any way, shape or form. I stated my name would be put on the deed before moving in because it would be on me and my husband forking over the money to save their home. Frankly, I don't trust Mason to not try and kick us out after we do so. So, if we're not put as the main deed holder, we will not be moving in, and she can lose her home. As for the limit on who is allowed at the house, Mason has a family member who is a convicted criminal. He went to prison for 13 years with whom he hangs out often. He seems to think that since the man is in a wheelchair, he's now harmless. Absolutely not. He is not welcome at the home. As for them treating us with respect under all circumstances and not treating me like a child, there have been several times when Mason and my mother-in-law have tried making decisions for me and my husband, or telling us what to do, and I will not tolerate it. I will give more detailed info if you guys need it, but this is the breakdown anyway. I presented them the list of demands yesterday and said either my demands are followed or this arrangement will not happen. Mason and mother-in-law are both saying that the list makes them feel as though they're children or guests of their own home and feel like I've now decided I'm going to control their lives and have asked to make changes. They want to keep the dog and have stated that we will just find a way to keep the dog separate from us. Nope. Mason also wants his said family member to be allowed here, but has stated he will keep them in their portion of the house and away from my kids. Nope. They also feel they should be able to reprimand and discipline my children if they're doing something wrong, if it is within reason. Nope. I told them they could speak to the parent and that's final. I said I'm not budging. My sister-in-law seems to think I'm being ridiculous. Am I the idiot? While your rules don't sound unreasonable given your explanation, I highly doubt they will actually adhere to them once you've paid off the tax lien. If the house is sold for taxes, how much equity will be left for mother-in-law to live on? Why isn't your sister-in-law taking her mother in or moving in with her? The real question is, does your husband have your back here, or is he also a people pleaser who will take his mom's side when push comes to shove? Please do not do this. I'm sorry your mother-in-law needs help, but your children come first and you put them in a potentially terrible situation. People generally revert to their old ways, so what happens when they break the agreement? Are you able to move out with your children that very day? This truly has disaster written all over it. These are not safe people to live with regardless of what they agree to. Your mother-in-law's people-pleasing that causes her to fall into bad situations will very likely put your children in a bad situation, whether she means for it to happen or not. Do not move in. You are the idiot if you move in. It's that simple. I, 36 male, have 2 kids, a female teen and a young male teen from a previous marriage. My ex, 34 female, and I share custody, but because she lives in a better school district, she primarily has them during the school year, and I get extended time with them during the summer. For the past 4 or 5 years, I've taken the kids on a fun summer road trip. The 3 of us plan a destination and pick things we want to see on the way there and back. It's been a great bonding experience and a lot of fun. Last year, I let each kid bring 1 friend along on the trip, and I'm doing the same thing this year. We're planning on leaving for the trip next weekend. My son is an outgoing, gregarious kid involved in multiple sports and has a long list of close friends. On the other hand, my daughter is very much an introvert and only has a few friends I know of. The friend she brought with us last year is definitely her closest friend. She was planning on bringing the same girl on our trip this year. Unfortunately, my daughter's friend had a fall a couple of weeks ago while riding her bike and broke her leg and collarbone. Obviously, she would be very uncomfortable sitting in a car for long periods, and there are stops on our trip when she would be unable to participate in the activities we want to do. There are also a couple places we planned on camping that I just don't think will work for her. My daughter says her friend still wants to come with her, and her parents are okay with it, but I don't think it's a good idea. I suggested that my daughter invite a different friend, but she says she doesn't have anyone else she wants to ask. I might have messed up, but I went behind her back and talked about it with her friend's parents. I expressed my concerns about their daughter coming on the trip, and I guess the 2 girls didn't give them a complete rundown of the activities we'd planned. After our conversation, they agreed it would probably be best for their daughter to stay home. As you can imagine, my daughter did not take this news well. She's very angry with me and thinks I sabotaged her friend coming with us on purpose. She's been begging me to cancel or change some of our plans so that her friend can still come with us. I told her that both her friend's parents and I agreed that her friend coming with us wasn't a good idea, so this wasn't just my decision. She says she won't come on the trip if her friend can't come. I do feel bad about the whole thing, but at this point I don't think there's much else I could do to make this work. I could alter plans to make it easier for her friend, but with how limited her mobility will be, that probably wouldn't be much fun for everyone else. My ex thinks I should do whatever it takes to get my daughter back on board so that she isn't excluded, but that just isn't realistic. I'm also worried that this will be the last year this sort of trip happens because summers get busy for teenagers. Not the idiot. Your daughter lied and manipulated this other girl's parents into agreeing to something they wouldn't have supported. Actions have consequences and your daughter is being unreasonable. Threatening to not come unless you give in is a tantrum tactic and your daughter is trying to emotionally manipulate you. This is a great time to explain to your daughter that you didn't sneak behind her back any more than she and her friend did with the friend's parents. They weren't honest with the friend's parents about the nature of the trip's activities, so they were sneaky themselves. And that would put the friend at risk for re-injuring themselves on top of it, making you responsible. You don't want to sign up for that risk, which is acceptable, and your daughter needs to learn that. Your ex should also agree with you on this, based on your daughter not being truthful with her friend's parents. Not to mention the genuine possibility of the child throwing a clot. Nope. The trip is off as punishment for the daughter's manipulation attempt and time for a parent-to-parent chat to make sure all are on the same page. OP should explain the health concerns to his daughter and kindly say that if she wants to stay with her recuperating friend, he'll understand, so they'll do something together some other time.